Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Insurance Town. I'm the Mayor, Heath Sheeran, and the host of this podcast. So excited you're here hanging out with us because I've got my man Daniel Yu coming in to hang out and talk to us about some AI and some cool technology that he's been developing and working on. I love this conversation. So anytime I get to talk tech with somebody, and I just love doing it. So I kind of geek out on that a little bit. Guys, this episode has been sponsored by my good friends over at Smart Choice, the fastest growing agency network, hands down. And they do what they do for agencies, independent agencies all across the country, 10,000 to be exact, because they care, because they want to partner up with independent agents, because they want to be a force in the industry with $11 billion in written premium. It's unbelievable. They can make a real change with that. They can have a real impact there. Guys, if you want to learn more, if you need markets, you need a partner, you need a friend, you need, anything like that, someone just run alongside you and give you advice and help you out, smartchoiceagents.com is the way to go. Tell them the mayor sent you. Also, my friends over at Canopy Connect, go to usecanopy.com/Heath. Make sure you hit that /Heath so you can get your discount. And go ahead and schedule a demo. You've got to go check out their intake forms, how they help you get loss runs, how they help you get deck pages. It's unbelievable. They are a game changer. You've got some good people over there in Ray and Nick Berry and Tolga and Casey, and the list goes on and on and on. And I know I'm leaving people out, but you've got to check out this team. They're incredible. Guys, I'm going to slide out of the way and let you check out this incredible conversation with my main man, Daniel. My man, Daniel. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Hello. Doing all right. How are you doing yourself?
Man, I am good. So, I mean, as you know, I appreciate your patience with me, man. The kids being out of school and everything else going on. It's just been wild today. So I appreciate your patience, my man.
No problem. Life happens.
Yeah, it does. So, I'm excited to have this conversation with you. I've heard a lot of good things about you and had some communication back and forth with your team. And so it's been a lot of fun. So, let me ask you this real quick before we get really too far into things here. So we'll start off with the hard hitting questions.
Sure.
If you or your company, Finmate AI, were a superhero, what would its superpower be?
Oh, geez. I feel like superpowers are generally flashy and exciting. I think.
Yeah, you got to give me something good here.
Yeah, I mean, I think our Finmate's identity is not so flashy. I think we're a lot kind of in the background. So
yeah,
yeah, it'd probably be one of the the support staff of an actual frontline hero.
There you go. Yeah. That's hilarious. I love it. So tell me, so obviously what I've seen on Finmate, we'll get into your story here in just a minute,
yeah.
But, so Finmate, obviously you created this to help, take notes and do some of that kind of stuff. And I've done some background on you a little bit on that, but
yeah.
Could it help me to remember where I put my keys? I lose my keys all the time.
Yeah, unfortunately, no. We're very, very specifically for the advisor-client meeting space. Maybe give it 3 more years. I'm sure there'll be robot assistants that are coming out. They'll give you your keys. Yeah,
we can connect it to my little square thing and keep
little
on
dongle. Yep, and then say, "Hey, robot, can you bring me my keys?" And I'll just bring you your keys.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Okay, so. Tell me this real quick, so the audience can kind of get to know Daniel a little bit.
Sure.
Take me a walk down memory lane a little bit. Just kind of walk me to where you are, today with Finmate, kind of how you got there a little bit. Give me, a couple minutes on that.
Yeah, no problem. So right out of college, I joined the financial services industry, joined Equitable as an advisor for them, did that for a number of years, and then transitioned over to TD Ameritrade as a senior advisor. I still maintain my FINRA licensing. I still maintain my insurance licenses, PC, LNH. And so, I've been licensed for about 9 years at this point. My last stint was at TD as a senior advisor, managed about 800 mil of client assets. Did that till Schwab did their thing with TD. And I had been doing a master's program at the time at Hopkins using AI to do stock price prediction modeling. And my thesis advisor just happened to be a guy from FINRA who encouraged me to put my license under FINRA's maintaining qualifications program and go try something else. So ended up combining the AI schooling as well as my industry background to come up with Finmate. So we launched in May of 2023 as the first AI-focused, AI note-taker focus for the advisor industry. And now we've actually launched something additionally groundbreaking, which is putting being able to extract out data and start populating financial plans. So pretty excited about that.
Oh, wow. That is exciting. So the AI thing, obviously AI's been around for a while, but it's kind of gotten to become this hot button over the last couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
Is AI something you've been interested in for a long time? Like going back to Will Smith's AI movies and stuff like back in the early days? Or, I'm just kidding. Or is it something like you just kind of, like most of us, just fell in love with it as it's come out in the last couple of years?
Well, no, actually. So Gen AI kind of took me by surprise. I was mostly in the AI space for prediction modeling, right?
Yeah.
So time series, the whole idea behind my master's thesis was, can we try to predict, stock market fluctuations, right? Which is a very different thing than generative large language model AI. So no, I was interested in AI, but mostly on the numerical side of things, not really so much like the linguistic side of things. So that did kind of catch me by surprise when GPT 3.0 came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. I noticed, as I've listened to some things like you were, really good, like as your advisor, trying to pay attention, try to do the active listening, trying to take the notes.
Yep.
A lot of things that we all do in our, whether it's PNC or health or financial advising, we're trying to take notes. We're trying to do the active listening. We're trying to do all that. But what is it, what was it in you? What was that moment where you realized, okay, I'm not really able to give my full all by taking these notes, and I can't really be the best I can be because I'm was that something? Anyway, let's go there.
Right.
First.
Right. I think it's mostly the opposite. I was very bad at taking notes.
Oh, okay.
So I was, enjoy the conversation, enjoy talking to people. And then at the end of it, it's like, oh, it's blank. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I had to send the email to the client like, hey, I'm sorry, I forgot, XYZ information. Could you remind me so I can generate out your financial plan or, populate out a, insurance proposal or illustration? And, that's never fun. Right. And so, yeah, it was,
did you find some clients who were kind of frustrated about it? Like, we just had this whole conversation. How'd you forget it all? Is that something like you found like that was a pain point for you?
I think it's a pain point for me mostly because obviously, you're trying to get deals done, you're trying to do your business, and then this just puts a blocker on it. And, clients don't always get back to you right away. So now you've extended out the deal process by another week and, you got to hit it while it's hot, but then you've just delayed it. And so, you lose percentage chance of closing and everything just kind of goes wrong if you don't get it done right away.
Yeah. So, my audience is primarily, in the PNC space, but, I've got some financial advisors that listen and whatnot, but all in all, like, where did you feel like, being a good active listener and having that empathy and being able to help develop these plans, like whether they're developing a package policy for their PNC or they're developing financial plans for their future. And, all of these things are so important.
Right.
Talk to me a little bit about that. And where you realized and like, just, I guess, all in all, like the question is so broad, I can't figure out how to narrow it in, but you can see where I'm going with that.
No, yeah. So basically, as you're talking to clients, right, it's like you're mentioning, it's always that tug of war between being present versus being detailed and complete with your notes. Took me, to generate a plan or do a proposal, right? Additional, let's say, hour post-meeting per client, which is a lot of dead time, right? And, unfortunately, insurance agents, advisors, we get paid by talking to people, not by doing paperwork, right? And so the whole idea is let's try to get rid of as much paperwork and back office admin work as we can, so that I can help empower agents and advisors to be in front of more clients if they want to grow their business, or just take more of a vacation if they want that nice lifestyle practice.
There you go. So you mentioned a pretty large book that you were managing and quite a bit of money and funds that you were managing for people, and you're a young guy, was that done by finding a niche or was that something?
So that's actually a little bit different. So TD Ameritrade, how they operate is they give you a book to manage and operate, and then you just grow it from there. And so no, I was not earning whole basis points off of that because probably would not have left if that was the case.
Right. But But you were able to develop from there and,
Correct.
get
Yeah.
some referrals from there and to kind of grow
Mhm.
from there, maybe add some more lines of business and everything's like that. So,
Yeah.
what was going back to superpower, what was kind of your secret superpower, so to speak, to help you to grow from that book you were given to expand that to what it is?
I will say that operating within TD was very, very well defined because they had such a nice system going. I think the superpower coming from the insurance industry, where I think there was much, much more of a grind. And so, if you can survive the insurance industry, I think you can survive the discount broker business.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, honestly, Equitable was a lot harder to kind of grow because you're kind of on your own. You're building your own practice. Whereas I think when I was at TD, it was because they had much more of a defined system. So it was pretty easy to flourish out there. So I would say that's pretty much the background, just grinding it through the insurance market first.
Yeah. So, my thing in the audience knows, and I love to talk about, relationships. I believe in the power of relationships, and I believe in, I love technology, obviously, but I also believe that the technology is there not to replace the human,
Correct.
but to enhance, the human relationships.
Correct.
And so as you were developing some of this technology and developing some of this to help your needs, to help some of those pain points that you had, what was kind of that process? Are you still a believer in that power relationship? Is that why you developed this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think with AI, everyone asks, like, when is it going to replace all of us, right? And I think for the advisor and the agent that has a book of business of loyal clients, in today's 2025 market, that means that your clients do want a human, right? So let's just say from the advisor perspective, if you still have a book of business of advisor clients, that means they don't want that robo ETF, right? They don't want the Robinhood. They don't want the, automatic investment, because if they want it, they would have already gone there, right? So why are they with you currently? It's because they want a human there. Same thing with insurance agents, right? There's plenty of places where you can just go online, get a quote, sign an insurance deal. But if you have a loyal book of clients that are still with you, it's like, why are they with you? Well, I mean, hopefully it's because you're there, right? And so I think there will always be a market for that white glove human to human contact. And so my platform isn't trying to replace anybody. It's honestly just to replace a lot of the dead admin work that, our industry so requires, right? Just to get everything processing through. But no, it's not meant to replace anyone.
Yeah, there's a lot of fear in that of people, like you said, when is it going to replace us? When is that going to happen? I would love to hear your perspective on, what you tell people as you're talking to them, like, this is here. AI is here. It's not going anywhere.
Yes.
Just kind of like, I'm a lot older than you, going back to when the internet was introduced to the world, people are like, oh, the internet's going to replace us all. We're all going to die. And, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now we've got AI kind of doing the same thing. And like, people are like, oh my gosh. But, I still, like I said, I'm a firm believer that it's, not going to do those kind of things. And, how do you get people over that hump and to buy into this adoption of AI, this technology? And how do you get them to do that? And like, there's some steps that you talk to them through, and there's some things that you walk through with them. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think for people that are freaking out, like I mentioned previously, it's just reminding them that you have your practice for a reason, right? Again, your people are here. You have your client base for a reason. Us creating this AI tool, or anyone creating an AI tool, is not anything substantially different than the robo advisors that already exist, right? So there's no need to worry about that. I think the benefit is, again, in the optimization of your workflow, right? A lot of the dead time in your practice that's not dedicated to growing your practice can be optimized away. But the actual advising or the helping of people directly, that's not going to go away, because again, if people wanted that, they could go get that right now pre-AI.
Yeah. So we're always, talking about ways to get more efficient, spend less time in the weeds.
Yeah.
Agents who are already juggling a lot.
Oh yeah.
How quickly can something like, Finmate AI start saving them time, or any other kind of AI tools, whether it's ChatGPT or whatever it might be?
Yeah.
Where should they start? Like, how quickly can that kind of stuff start happening for them?
Yeah, good question. I think so. Initially, the easy low-hanging fruit to build out was the note-taking space, right? And so Right now, as you talk to clients, you need structured notes to come out of them to remind yourself. And for the advisory industry, there's a lot more regulation around record keeping and things like that. But beyond that, and what we're currently building out with some insurance folks as well is just like we built out for the advising industry, where you go through a needs analysis discovery conversation with a client. For the advisor, they need to build out a financial plan to give out a financial planning proposal, right? But then for the insurance agent, they will need to do that needs analysis, same thing, gather a bunch of information. What are the unfunded liabilities? What needs to be covered? And then generate out proposals, illustrations to then present back to the client. And so just like how we've automated the data entry into the planning side of things, we're building out automations for the illustration and proposal generation right now. And hopefully that'll be coming out in a quarter or two.
So, I'm curious, like, how do you see, you mentioned insurance agents, how do you see this AI type thing, like helping with P&C agents or health insurance agents, personalizing their service to the clients, especially when it comes to things like home and auto or health insurance or business policies?
Yeah. So home auto business. So in full transparency, I've sold life, health, insurance plans. I am P&C licensed. I just haven't actually closed one in my career so far. So I don't have extensive experience on the P&C space personally. But the same thing, right? Like the agent talks to the client, understands what they have, what coverages they need, and then you go back and you shop out the needs across multiple carriers. If you're part of an independent group, or if you're captive, then you got to put it through your own company system to generate the plans and proposals, right? See what policies are available, see what riders and tweaks that need to be done. But all of that is discovered during the conversation, and so it's not so much us necessarily catering directly to the client. So we're not client facing at all. We're advisor and agent facing, and so the idea is then, okay, you have that conversation with the client. We extract all that information during the conversation, and then you push a button. We'll format out all the data that you talked about, and we'll shove it into your proposal illustration system, so that you just save half an hour of data entry to go from notes to typing it in. So it's really that portion of it.
So is this mainly for like virtual meetings like we're having now, or is it could be done face to face in person?
Yes.
Do you just hit record on your phone and do like how does that work in person?
Yeah. We have an app available for Android and iOS, and you can use that for your in-person meetings as well. We also do integrate with a number of voice over IP phone systems, so phone calls can be done as well. Yeah. So all ways that people interact. Yeah,
I still think, there's a huge value in that, point of sale, in-person type, meetings in the office, face to face, knees to knees, so to speak, elbow to elbow, whatever you want to call it. Talking
breathing
to people.
The same air.
Say what?
Breathing the same
air. 100%.
Yeah.
Or even if they're at a restaurant having lunch together for it, or a dinner, or, around a board table, whatever it might be. I think there's a lot of, value in that. And I was hoping that you had a solution for that.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm a big believer in that in-person meeting. I think a couple of days ago, actually, an advisor consultant was writing an article about the future of the industry and AI and asked me for my 10-year hot take. And my 10-year hot take is I think that advisors will need to go back to in-person meetings because as AI improves, there's going if you just run a fully virtual practice and we're doing what we're doing right now, which is just virtual calls, an AI can start mimicking a person and do these virtual calls for you instead, right? And so what's the actual value of the human then? Well, it's going to be the in-person meeting. And so that's my 10-year hot take. I think, post-corona, I think a lot of advisors and agents started moving towards just like a fully virtual practice, which I get for optimization's sake. But then now we're losing out on that human-to-human aspect of things. And so I think in order for the advisor and the agent industry to continue to be human-driven, it will need to be in person. So there you go. That's my 10-year hot take.
No, I love that because I talk to a lot of agencies, day to day about, when they ask me kind of my hot take on how they can differentiate themselves.
Yeah.
I always go back to the cold call, the drop-in calls, the face-to-face visits, the door knocking that I think has become a lost art. And I think that if, Daniel, myself, whoever it might be, were to out and knock on the door or walk into the business and do a drop-in call or even pick up the phone to a cold call, that's going to be like, whoa, I haven't seen an agent in my office in a while, or I haven't seen anybody come do this. It's like old school stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to set them apart. And I think the more and more you can have that, and you can use tools with AI or FinMate or whatever it might be, then you'll be able to say, okay, I can focus, like you said a minute ago, being all in that moment. I could be all in with you, and I could talk to you, I could learn about you, hear your situation. All the while, I've got my assistant, so to speak, taking notes for me.
Correct.
I've got my, AI to do those things. I just think that's huge, and I think that I'm glad that you were able to find something, especially and expand that beyond just financial planners, because we in the PNC world need it a lot. I wish I would have had this when I was coming up 20 years ago, because I'm so ADD that I could be talking to you, Daniel, and somebody could walk in the room and I'm over here, and then a squirrel comes by here and I got birds chirping, and I'm like, what is going on? Right. So to be able to have something to be able to take those notes for me, or to even, further explain what that is, or maybe the AI could say, okay, based on what I heard, here's some of the challenges that they have that I heard. There's some really cool things that could happen with that AI.
Yeah. I mean, that's the impetus for FinMate, is this, like, what would I have liked coming up in the industry, right? When I was back in the seat, like, what would be useful for me, right? And, like you mentioned, I think a lot of the cold call stuff will also be automated away now with AI agents. And so we're thinking through how to approach that topic as well. But like you're mentioning, that closing, point of sale, that relationship maintenance has to be, I think, in person moving forward. Yeah.
I mean, even I can remember back in, my early days, when Progressive first started going, straight to consumer, and I was like, oh man, this is not good, and again, it's not a knock on Progressive. A lot of companies, I won't even say just Progressive, but when companies started going straight to consumer, direct to consumer type sales, I was like, oh my gosh, this is not good. But then I started recognizing my phone would ring when they'd have a claim. Or my phone would ring when they need to add a vehicle, or my phone would ring when something would happen. And I would go through, I'd try to find their policy in my system, or I'd try to do this. I'm like, wait a minute. And like, oh no, I bought it online, but I need a human. I needed you. I needed a relationship to help me walk through this or ask questions, because they couldn't get that. And so I'm seeing the same thing. In my opinion, it's going to happen with AI. Like, this is great, but I want a human I can talk to. I want somebody I can have a relationship with, that I can, have this evolving conversation with, that's not giving me just what I want to hear through AI. Like, they can actually talk me through the problems.
Yeah, I think it's a psychological thing of, like, having my guy, right? Of like, okay, like, I have my blank guy and I don't know anything about that world, but my guy will take care of me, right? Or my gal, whatever, right? And I think that psychological level of just comfort is what, like, will separate. And obviously not everyone wants that, right? And so the people that don't want that will go through the DTC route, and then, whenever they need support, sit through the 1-800s. But then the folks that do want that white glove treatment, maybe they pay a premium, or I don't know how the company will divvy out the revenue for the policies, but then you can have that person that, hey, something goes wrong, I call this person and they'll figure it out for me.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I have to address the elephant in the room, at least that I'm looking at.
Sure.
Is as you go through all of this and you're developing all this and you're, launching all this, huge security flags start raising, like whether it's, red flags, green flags, yellow flags, I don't know.
Yes.
You tell me, like, how do you address that? Because again, we know that generative AI can hallucinate. We know that it becomes public knowledge when you put it in a system like this. There's closed chats and there's all these, 4.0 and all this other stuff. But when you're developing your own outside of ChatGPT or outside of Microsoft Copilot, whatever it might be.
Yes.
How do you address those concerns, and how can you make my audience and myself feel more comfortable with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's good that you're concerned about it. I think not enough people are concerned about it. How we're addressing it is, I view myself as a tool of the financial services industry, not that we're building an AI company. And what that means is, because I have been in the industry a long time, still licensed, would like to keep it and not alienate the industry. I tend to view data more as a risk rather than an asset. And so we actually fully delete everything from our system, right? Everything's on a timer. No one is allowed to keep any data on our system. We just fully wipe it out. Why? Well, because we also have a very strict no training policy. So no AI improvements will be made using information. I know a lot of AI companies like say, oh, we don't do any training, but they'll say things like, oh, we learn how you do things, right? And if they're learning how you do things, that means they're keeping your data forever. We don't learn how you do things. We improve incrementally on our end based on feedback and our experiences. But that's how we're doing it. We're just wiping everything out. We don't keep any data. And when you connect your core systems to us, how we have our system built is we're pushing data to your systems. We're not pulling data from your systems, right? So we're not reaching into your book of business proposal generator.
So it's a one-way integration?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we'll pull out just enough so that we know where to send the data, right? Because, we don't want to send it to random places. But how we have it set up and our data philosophy is we push data out. We don't pull data in, because we should be just a processing layer, let's say, for your operational workflow. We're not trying to become like the center console of your entire practice. So, yeah, I think there's a different philosophy
if I'm
there.
working with Daniel and or another agent, so to speak,
Sure.
and that timer's gone, like the timer's expired and that information's wiped, but I need to come back to this and like update a policy or add this or cross sell, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Is there like a way to bring that information, I guess, back in there to be able to say, hey, based on this history, can you help me to recommend this or do that? Or how do you suggest that?
Yeah, there's some systems available that we're building out to help with that post meeting, post previous meeting, pre next meeting. But realistically speaking, our system is built so that it's sending information to your client relationship manager systems, right? And so you should be taking that data into your already existing place where you're storing all your notes, right? And that shouldn't be us because, again, we don't want to get audited, and I don't want to help you with your audits.
100%.
Because I'm sure you don't want us to be involved in your audits, realistically, right? Why would you want another random tech company involved there? So, yeah, we want to push data into your existing systems, and then after that, this is your data. It's not our data.
So then they could extract the data in some sort of form and then upload it back into Finmate if they needed to and just say, hey, I'm looking to cross-sell this client or whatever it might be. Or you just begin all the way from scratch with a whole new, however you decide.
Yeah. So, we generate out that pre-meeting preparation as well if you want us to keep that data for a certain amount of time. Alternatively,
Okay.
Yeah, you can always just look at your CRM and see what opportunities there are there. Or, I think at that point, generic AI should also be powerful enough to take care of that kind of needs analysis.
So talk to me about connecting with these CRMs. That's a huge thing that in our space, and it sounds like in other spaces you've worked with, the CRM is such a integral part of the business. And so when you're connecting to these CRMs, walk me through some of that and what are some of the suggestions you may have for that, and how can someone maximize their existing tech stack with adding Finmate?
Yeah. So the PNC world, LNH world, and the advising world, from experience, at least the LNH and the advising world, the two core systems seem to be for the advising side, the CRM and the planning software. For the LNH side, it will be planning and then the proposal or illustration system. And so Finmate will feed data into both places, right? So you do your meeting, we extract out the notes, we send it directly into your CRM. We can send tasks directly into your CRM, follow-ups, right? And so if you have assistants that are helping you with booking follow-up meetings, things like that, that can get pushed into your pre-existing CRM and workflow setup. And then again, with the second generation that we're working on right now is extracting the data in a machine-readable format, sending it to the planning software, sending it to the proposal software, illustration software, so they can generate out interesting things to, again, reduce that admin time. So that would be where I would say the core strength lies, is the hour you spend organizing notes and the hour you spend doing data entry. It can be taken away by Finmate.
So can you share any examples of how Finmate's integration with CRMs on the financial side, and like maybe how you see similar benefits for the PNC side and the people who use systems, like CRM systems, like whether it's Agency Zoom or, some other agency CRM for insurance space. Like, can you compare those? Like, give me an example of how that may have worked.
Yeah, I mean, so for the advising space, it's pretty simple, right? FINRA SEC regulation requires client communications to be recorded, and in case there's an audit that happens, right? And so you have the meeting, we extract it out, we send it directly to Redtail, Salesforce, Wealthbox, Accelerate, Salentica, whatever, all those CRMs. And so we can push that in directly so that you're not having to then type in the notes yourself. Similarly for the agency, when you sell a policy, you can still get audited, and the auditor will check, was this policy appropriate? Again, I haven't sold a PNC policy, but at least when I sold, annuities, right, there's a lot of checking going on like, was this an appropriate sale, right? What was the client background, right? You need to have all of that documented. So when the audits happen, you are protecting yourself, right? Beyond just, developing your business practice more. And so we can then extract out that information. This is why I'm harping on like the needs analysis, is because that's kind of your defense against any kind of audits that might occur. It's like, hey, did you oversell? And things like that could happen. So that's where I would say.
See, I know you said you haven't, sold, in the PNC side yet, but you have that license and whatnot. You've spent a lot of time in the financial advising space. Mm-hmm. Do you think that, or what? I mean, with this route, I know that you do think there can be, but what do you think PNC agents could learn from financial advisors when it comes to AI tools, or when it comes to improving the client service in general?
I don't necessarily think that the PNC people can learn, because this is all new for everyone, right? It's less about learning from the agent or the financial advising world, but just like, here's what we're creating. Because I've experienced both in the insurance space and in the advising space, I think this tool can be fit for both, and we're building out specific tooling to cater to both systems. Ultimately, the structure is the same, right? We want to send data to your core system so that you don't need to do a lot of work, manual data entry. But then where it exactly goes is just a matter of like what subcategory of the industry you're in. And so, I would say, optimize away that admin time, use AI note taking, cover yourself, cover maybe like your assistant's time, because then you don't need to sit with your assistant and explain what happened during the meeting. You can just send them the notes or the recording. But then, once we roll out this additional piece of work for the insurance space, I think it'll be very useful in saving some time for that space.
So
too.
I've been on this journey for a long time of, trying to do the best, whether I was agency owner, or I was on the carrier side, or now doing this podcasting and creating content of the client experience in general. And, let's put back on your hat when you were an advisor, and going back to those days a little bit, and maybe working with other advisors. I'm a firm believer, like the client experience, just that whole game, the client journey is just evolved, and it's changed over the years. And we can blame that on COVID, we can blame it on technology, we can blame it on AI, we can blame it on a lot of things. Yeah. But what are you seeing right now as, ways that we as an industry, all-encompassing industry, can
financial
do
services
to improve that? Yeah. What can we do to improve the client journey to be more like, whether it's Amazon or even like a Chick-fil-A or even like, Netflix, for example? Like, what do we need to be doing? Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, again, going back to that 10-year hot take, currently, as I see it, the industry is bifurcating again in terms of low volume, high net worth, like high dollar deals with white glove treatment versus, okay, let's start servicing kind of the smaller dollar just in higher volume, right? So for the advisor industry, minimum used to be around, hey, you need to bring me at least $1 million or 500,000 before I will manage your assets. But now what people are starting to do is instead, okay, like even if you're under that, as long as you just pay me like a fixed flat fee, right? And then they just do this ridiculously high volume of work for those kind of smaller dollar clients who still want some level of human access, but maybe, obviously don't have the capital to be able to go join or be a client of some of the bigger advisory firms. The danger I see in that second small dollar high volume is, that's prime for AI automation to just take that away, right? Because that's less human interaction, more automated systems. And then after a certain tipping point, it's like, well, why is that human there, right? So I would see that it's actually kind of necessary for the industry folks that want to remain in the industry to actually go more of the white glove treatment, right? Recurring business, natural growth, organic growth, bigger ticket items, more cross-selling, like that subcategory of clients, I think will be the only ones that might survive this automation explosion that'll happen with AI. And so I think for that side, then the key is always service, right? And how you make them feel. right?
Yeah.
And so, like, are you remembering their birthdays? Are you talking about their kids, baseball trips? Send them, gift cards for random things that, not birthdays, right? Because sometimes that can become just expected. And it's like, hey, I remember you said your son was going to a baseball thing. Like, here's a $20 gift card to some sports store, right? It doesn't need to be anything crazy, right? But like, even for us, like, when we have issues that we're, software issues that we have to resolve for clients, and, it's taken us a little while to fix, we would send them a local coffee store gift card, right? It's like, hey, I know your office is here. Here's a, $20 gift card to your local coffee chain. And it's just the small things that really, I think, help solidify that, like, there's people behind the service.
100%.
Not just someone that can be replaced by an AI.
Okay, so let me ask you. Okay, keeping the hat of the financial advisor on for just a minute.
Yeah,
let's get the record straight. What's more stressful for you? What's been more stressful for you, like building and growing this book of business as a financial advisor, or creating an AI that helps financial advisors, or finding that perfect cup of coffee to get you through a busy week?
Oh man, I think the stresses are different. Thankfully, like the financial services industry is, I think, one of the most entrepreneurial industries out there anyway. So if anything was going to help me prep for running a tech company, it's probably the financial services space. But yeah, I would say that the pros on the on this side, on the software side, is I think the possibilities are endless. Like, I can build new products and roll out new features very quickly. Whereas I think in the insurance and the advising space, it's much more slower to develop new products, right? A lot of regulation, a lot of kind of, momentum that's needed. The cons obviously is it's less well-defined alternatively. And so we have to kind of forge our own pathway forward. In terms of coffee, I mean, I am in Silicon Valley. There's Verve. There's some good places out here. So.
Oh, yeah. That's why I had to bring that into it. But
yeah.
Man, I really appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us. Before we go, though, I would love for you, give the audience a good, give your elevator pitch, so to speak, or like a minute and a half or so, and like maybe tell them how they could get in touch with you guys, how they could connect with you, whether they're financial advisors, P&C agents, health agents, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Kind of, I'll give you that runway for a couple minutes before we wrap up.
Yeah, appreciate it. So, you can find us at finmate.ai is our website, finmate.ai. If you want to book a call with us, you can, book a call with us, and then we'll have a chat. We like to view ourselves as the only kind of industry homegrown AI company because I've been there in the seat for much, much longer than I've ever been in tech. And so hopefully folks can trust that we will handle your data properly and not be just a tech person sitting on the other side.
Awesome. And is there a way, they could find you? Is it LinkedIn? What's the best way if they want to find Daniel?
Yeah, LinkedIn. If you want to email me, email is just daniel@finmate.ai. I can't promise exactly when I'll get back to you, but I will do my best to get back to everybody. So yeah, you've
got a great team. It's really helped, to me to stay in contact with you and to talk with you. And so I'm sure there's a way you'll get back to him somehow. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
If not, you have to develop some AI assistant to help you. Brother, again, I truly appreciate you. The audience appreciates you. And thank you for spending some time with us today. And let us learn a little bit more about how you're helping the insurance space.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Yep, brother.